Alright, hello. I am using one of my alternate accounts a long time ago, actually close to when I started my main account. I created a second one just in case my main one got compromised and died. And unfortunately, I didn't really stick with it very much, but um, it got me thinking. Somebody was talking to me about historic decks, and I realized a lot of people are intimidated by historic because they think that they don't have the cards for it. And so something that I would like to do theoretically, and I'm going to start it now, and we'll see how far it goes, is try making some budget options. I know there's other people who are making budget options for historic, but just find ways to keep the rares and the mythics out of historic decks. So this account has some number of rares and mythics and commons and uncommons. I've been relatively careful, so I haven't played a lot. I've just been kind of popping in every now and then and trying to slowly build it up, but not enough to make a difference. So most of this is from when I first started, but um, I would like to start out with budget Merfolk. So I've been really enjoying Merfolk on my main account. It's probably my favorite deck, maybe that I've played on Arena at any point in time. And I noticed today that a lot of the tools that Merfolk has are common and uncommon. And when I realized that, I realized, wait a second, this deck is going to be relatively cheap. So that's what I'm going to do today. This deck is not definitive, but what I would like to show are some of the tools that Merfolk deck can use. I don't know why there are 62 cards in the deck right now. That doesn't... What? Who designed this deck? Um, there we go. That's what I meant to do. Some of the tools that you can use to build a budget Merfolk list. I'll do the show the core and then go from there. So, in my sideboard, I've got some other options that you can use. So the core of Merfolk is a number of cards. First, it is the Lords, Merfolk Mistbinder. Darn it, and I'm so bad at this. I'm just going to do this over here. Merfolk Mistbinder. It's a 2-mana 2/2 that gives other Merfolk +1/+1. That is one of the most important cards in the deck. The other one is Marrow Reegery, which is another. It's a 3-mana 2/2, so it's a little bit expensive. Also gives Merfolk +1/+1, but also has the ability of when you cast a Merfolk, you can tap or untap stuff. So I don't know if I'll get a chance to specifically show that in this video. I've gotten to do that in a lot of other videos. You can untap your land. So if you cast a Reegery, you can cast another 1-drop Merfolk and then immediately untap the land, so the Merfolk was free. So Reegery, Mistbinder are very important. Notice they are both uncommons, so relatively inexpensive. The next pieces of the core, I would say, are Silvergale Adept. Silvergale Adept is not a fast card. It's a 2-mana 2/1, but it draws a card. And Silvergale Adept is one of the biggest reasons for playing Merfolk. It's a 2-mana 2-for-1. You pay 2 mana. A 2/1 for 2 is not great, but it's playable, certainly, right? But drawing that extra card means if you play a Silvergale Adept out, and then another Silvergale Adept out, and then another Merfolk, and they wipe the board, you traded one card for one of their cards because the Silvergale Adept drew you 2 cards. So very powerful. And then Trickster is just a flash threat. We are a blue aggro deck. We're going to lose to the other red or green aggro decks, white aggro decks a lot because they've got bigger stuff than us. So Trickster allows you to deal with specific threats. So if they have a blocker, you can tap it down and swing for lethal. If they've got a big questing beast, you can tap it down. So Trickster is very important. Also, I would put Kumena Speaker in that slot. It's a 2/2 for 1. 2/2 for 1 mana in this deck, which is great. So that's kind of your core. I want to switch over here. So we've got Trickster, Adept, Reegery. I'm going to put the Lords separately, and then you've got Speaker. So this is kind of your core. The rest of these, I would say you can put whatever you like. Let me talk about the other Merfolk first. So Mistcloaked Herald is a 1/1 that can't be blocked. So if you're playing a 1-mana 1/1 and then you buff it up with Lords, that's pretty solid. Now it's a 2/2 that can't be blocked. and we are an aggro deck. Merfolk wants to kill them quickly, so having one drops is very important. They don't feel super powerful, but they can kill quickly, especially with the lords. It is a common. These are other 2 drops that you can use. River Sneak is another unblockable, and it gets bigger. So it can be a 2/2 unblockable. It can be a 3/3 unblockable as you attack. And Skydiver is also difficult to block because it has flying. Now you can make this a 2/2 flyer with its +1/+1 counter, or you can put the counter on something else. I usually like to put the counter on the Skydiver, simply because it just, if I put it on a Lord and they kill the Lord, then I feel bad. So Sneak and Skydiver are our 2 mana spells. Sneak is an uncommon, Skydiver is also an uncommon. So these are some evasive beaters. And then up here are just 2 more. Again, the numbers aren't specific. Ultimately, I just put how many I had in the deck. I had 2 Pioneers and 3 Weavers, but Weaver is a little bit of removal. So when you play this 3 mana for 2/2 isn't great, but being able to take their biggest blocker or their biggest attacker and tap it is a pretty big deal. So they have a Questing Beast, boom, now it's stuck. Now you get 2 turns without it being there. And then Pioneer just creates 2 Merfolk for the cost for 1 card. So you get a 2/2 and a 1/1. So ultimately that's 3 power worth of Merfolk for 1 card, and it's a common. So both of these are common. So again, very inexpensive. Lastly, the disruption package. You're not playing red or black, so we don't have good removal, but we are playing blue, and that gives us access to some great interaction that I personally love. Spell Pierce is maybe my favorite piece of interaction in the game. 1 mana, counter their board wipe. Something that this deck is going to struggle against is when you're playing against control, you put a bunch of Merfolk out, and then on turn 4, they try to kill all your stuff. For 1 mana, Spell Pierce stops that. So I have 3 in the deck. You can go to 2, you can go to 4, whatever you'd like. And then Unsummon. Unsummon, we can bounce our own creature. If they try to kill one of our lords, we can use Unsummon to return it to our hand. Or if there's a big blocker in the way, we can return the blocker to their hand and then attack. So the goal with both of these spells is to be cheap. Both with wild cards, they're both commons, but they also just cost 1 mana. So when we return everything to the correct spot, which I will, theoretically, except I'm being noob. Got a bunch of 1-drops, a ton of 2-drops, and then a little bit of 3-drops, and then our lands. So the lands, pretty straightforward. Islands, forest, you want more islands than forests. Evolving Wilds, I just put that there. Having a 2-color deck, I'm running 23 lands. So you can run 22. My main one runs 22 lands. Unclaimed Territory taps for any color, so it helps to fix the colors. So if you get stuck with a bunch of forests, but you have an Unclaimed Territory, well, now you can cast your blue spells. So Unclaimed Territory is very important. And an Evolving Wild is just a cheap way of getting whichever color you need. Something that you can do if you have these lying around, and I do because they came with the original, and it might actually be better than Evolving Wilds. Actually, I think it most definitely is these lands. They are tapped, but they tap for both colors of mana. So you can also, if you would like, I'm just going to move them over to the sideboard. Breeding Pool and Hinterland Harbor both come into play untapped most of the time. And Breeding Pool is the best land. You pay two life, and it taps for blue, taps for green, and you can also pay your spell. Something with Unclaimed Territory can't cast these spells. It can, because they're not Merfolk, so it only taps for colorless. Hinterland Harbor and Breeding Pool do that. That being said, they are rare. So if you're trying to keep away from rares, then you don't want to play these. This, however, can be a dual land. Taps for both colors. I only have a few because I didn't want to have a lot of tapped lands that were in aggro deck, so we want to kill them quickly. But I think it's good to have some amount of color fixing, meaning you want to be able to cast Merfolk Mistbinder, Cumena Speaker, River Sneak, and if you get all blue or all green mana, you're going to stall. So that's the main deck. When I say main deck, I've just built this for best of one. some options for the sideboard, not for sideboard, some options that you could put in the deck if you would like that are not common or uncommon. One is very good, Benthic Biomancer. I have four in my main deck. I would replace two of these Mistcloaked Heralds. Biomancer it's a 1/1 for one, so that's not exciting. But the adapt, anytime you put counters on it, you draw a card and discard a card. So a lot of times, decks like this, at a certain point, you draw too many lands, and all of our cards are relatively weak. I mean, we're paying, you know, 2 mana 2/1s, 2 mana 2/2s. So if we flood, we're going to lose the game. So Biomancer, sometimes, if you're drawing too many lands, you can adapt him and draw a card, maybe draw another Merfolk and discard one of the lands. So I really like Biomancer. It helps keep me from getting flooded. Curious Obsession is a thought. It might be a better sideboard card, but if you strap one of those guys on an early Mistcloaked Herald, every time you attack, you're drawing cards, or River Sneak. That's great. You can be drawing 2 cards a turn. Dive Down, I had that. I accidentally put that in the deck at the beginning. Is just another piece of 1 mana interaction protection to protect. Mainly you want to protect your lords, Mistbinder and Reedry. The problem with Dive Down, the reason why I don't have Dive Down in the deck is most of the troubles that this deck will have is not targeted removal, but board wipes. Meaning most control decks, for example, that you would play Dive Down against aren't trying to kill your individual stuff. They're trying to wipe the board and kill everything, and Dive Down doesn't stop that. Jade Bearer is a card that I've seen in some lists. Technically, it's 2 power for 1 mana. It's a 1/1 for 1, but it also builds something else up. The problem is, if you want to get the bonus 1/1 counter, you can't play it on turn 1. So it's a card, if you want to do it, it's a 1-drop. I've never particularly liked it. Cutthroat, if you want to cut some of the slower aspects and play more counter spells, more like Spell Pierce, things like that, more Dive Down, whoops, you can go to Cutthroat. I'm gonna switch screens. There we go. Yeah, so Cutthroat, you can play it on their turn, just like Merfolk Trickster. I love Cutthroat in other decks, not so much in Merfolk, because all of our creatures, we're trying to play creatures each turn, and we tend to play them on our turn. But Cutthroat is an option. What am I doing? I'm going to make a mess. Deeproot Champion is just something funny if you have it in the deck. It's a card that I've tried to make work. I really like the idea of it, but I don't think it's playable. There's actually a blue-red one coming out in the Ikoria set. I think that's how you pronounce it, which has flying and flash, which I think is pretty sweet. So, Deeproot Elite, I think this is very playable. Basically, anytime Merfolk enter, you get to put +1/+1 counters. So it costs 2, so it can take the place of some of this more expensive stuff, and you get to buff your stuff up. Every time you play new Merfolk, it can come in bigger. You can put counters on your Benthic Biomancer and draw cards and loots for free. Deeproot Elite is a solid card. It's not as good as the other lords, but it's solid. Kumena, I would say, is not a 4 of probably, but definitely is something to have as 2 or 3. Not particularly fast. There's not lore, doesn't buff up the other creatures, but a lot of games aren't about being fast. Some games are. If you're playing against control, you want to go fast, hard. You want to counter their one spell and then attack for the win. But a lot of games are not about being fast. They're about being the person who's standing last. And Kumena allows you to draw cards each turn. And every card you draw, your opponent's not drawing a card, and now you're up 1 card. And eventually he can put a bunch of counters and make everything bigger. Herald of Secret Streams, it's just a card you can play if you want to play it. It's a neat card. Seafloor Oracle, another rare. Well, there's a bunch of these 4 mana Merfolk. It's super weird. I don't think these 2 are particularly playable, but if you want to try something unique, if you attack with a bunch of your Merfolk, like a bunch of unblockable ones, this will allow you to keep drawing cards. And lastly, Tempest Caller, I think, is playable, not in the main deck. If you play best of 3, I would definitely have a couple of these in the sideboard for creature matchups. It is an uncommon, so it's not actually super expensive. It's not good against control. It's not good against some decks. But if there's a deck that's just like clogging up the board with a bunch of tokens, Tempest Caller can tap them all and you attack for lethal, like against Field of the Dead, making a bunch of zombies, Tempest Caller, and then attack. So I'm going to take this through some matches, and let's just see how it does. Again, the core of the deck is very similar to my normal version that I play, but minus a few additions. So let's see how this budget list works. All right, we're going to be playing against Nick, which is kind of funny. So, remember I said I only had 2 of these tapped dual lands? This is the reason why. What I'm going to have to do is go Unclaimed Territory turn 1, maybe a Speaker, Miscloaked Herald, and then have to take a turn off. So, I think that actually changes everything. I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to go with Speaker. So Speaker's a 1/1 for 1, but if I play another Merfolk or an island, he gets bigger. So I should have played Herald there, it would seem. So this attack is just a waste of time. So this looks like it's going to be blue-green elementals, something like that. Blue-green ramp. Yep. So Risen Reef is a very powerful card. So what we can do, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to play this land tapped. Can't play my Miscloaked Herald because I'm drawing a bunch of forests, but this thing is now unblockable. So we're just going to attack with everything and get in for some damage. Okay. Okay, so they're going to get a lot of value out of these 2 reefs. But the reefs are 1/1s. So if I draw a Regery, okay, value towns. This is just like Simic. Actually, I bet this is the Simic Omniscience deck, so I've only got a limited amount of time. Huh. Okay, so I'm going to play that. So that gets bigger. I am drawing a little bit of lands, extra lands. I don't want 6. But they're going to have to start blocking. They're going to take 6 here. So they may have Flood of Tears next turn, which is why they may be okay with just taking the damage. If they Flood of Tears, that's what the deck looks to be. It's a cool deck. It's like a combo deck. Well, that's good. That's really good. So a Lord kills them, meaning a +1/+1 guy. Okay, they didn't have it. Let's go on to another. I somewhat sense that my opponent is a grumpy type of person. So again, we talked about land problems. What? We'll take it. He's really grumpy. This is probably the best hand that we've had so far. We are on the draw, so we may not see the full value of it, but this hand's pretty strong. Cool. Oh, just got even better. Jeez. All right, so I don't think they're going to have a lot of blockers. They might. We'll see. One of the cool things about... I'm just playing in the play queue. I'm going to have a little bit of piece of interaction. Okay. That's great. So, Silvergill Adept. Pay 2 mana. Just going to reveal that. And we'll draw a card. So, helps find us more lands, and will not attack. So we've got all our important cards here. 1 drop, Adept, Lord, unblockable. That's hilarious. That's great. I love it. So they just use that to draw one card. So what I'm going to do here is probably just going to Mistbinder, and then I'll play Mistcloaked Herald. I'm not really stuck on lands, nor do they have blockers. So the difference between, I was either thinking about playing Regery there and that's great. Now we are flooding a little bit, but okay. Unsummons will be great. I'm gonna just tap that. So, and the lords we do draw will eventually make all this stuff be irrelevant. Oh, that's hilarious. Alright. I'm doing like no damage. That's not true, I'm doing 5. This will be 6, 7. So they're dead this turn. Sweet. I'm just going to get that in there. They don't have any devotion to anything, so... Swing with everything! Doing all our 0 damage. These aren't doing 0 damage, these are doing 1 damage. These guys are doing 0 damage. That's hilarious. They are so tiny. What the heck just happened? Why did they have... How did they just get 5 mana? They don't have... Oh, they do. What am I looking at? Silvergill Adept? How did this end up being a Merfolk deck? It's a mono blue devotion deck using Merfolk, but Gadwick would be a beating. This is hilarious. They might be able to block. I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 attackers, so they need 2 more. They have another piece of removal. That's hilarious. They're counting. That's hilarious. I can do the same. So now it costs 5, so I'm just essentially doing this for fun. And I can't cast that, but we're just going to swing with everything. So I just need to sneak 1 through. Oh, they can't, because I've got Mistcloaked Herald. Right. But this will let me do a quest where I need to kill some of their stuff. Anyways, that was a funny game. So Tiny's worked really well. All right, so I'm actually taking this into ranked. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep it. My Spell Pierce doesn't work right now, but the rest of my cards do. So, something to note: I'm playing against a silver opponent because there's not a lot of bronze right now. So, at least in Historic, there's a lot more people playing Standard than Historic. I wish that would change, but what can you do? So, what? They just missed on lands. We will not. We're going to drop our Silvergill Adept. We've got to end the game quickly. I'll just do that. Good. So Silvergill Adept, it's a slow card. It's 2 mana, 2/1, but okay, so they drew Llanowar Elf off the top. This should basically let me end the game. So they can't let their elf die because cool thing is this next turn I'm going to be able to dump my hand, basically. If I draw land, it will be even more dumpier. Okay, so how do I want to do this? So, Raidry's going to make this happen. So, cast River Sneak. Untap this land. Next. My Trickster, I can't actually do that. So I can Skydiver and Trickster, which actually, I actually think I'm just going to Weaver here, and I'm going to tap down their. I'm going to tap down their 1/3, so they won't be able to use it next turn. So Sneak gets bigger. We're going to keep that tapped and bash in. So Raidry tapping down something and untapping our lands. Next turn I'll be able to play both of these. Okay, so obviously this isn't a huge game. Yeah. Alright. Winning games in bronze. Oh, jeez. Bronze 4. Ugh. I think this is fine. Tap land is coming, but got our colors, got some spells. Huh. So I'm gonna put this in play. Means I don't get to play a 1-drop, but I'll be able to play both Herald and Speaker next turn. It's one of the alternate art Llanowar Elves, kind of cool. Okay, so they're gonna have a ton of mana. So, green deck's pretty popular down low. I could hold Trickster. Something I could do is hold Trickster and eat one of their elves, but I imagine they're probably gonna cast something here. Wow. Ramping big time. So what I'm going to do, my Spell Pierce is dying quickly. I'm going to get my Lord into play. I got to kill him quickly. Whatever they're doing is big, so, because they got lots of mana. So I need to kill him quickly. I'm not going to win. That's, Arboreal Grazer's really irritating. I assume it's going to be a big creature. Jeez. Just going to attack in. Why not? I do run the risk of having my Mistbinder killed, but then I get to eat both their elves, and that makes my Spell Pierce better. So Mistcloaked Herald can't be blocked. Okay, that's fine. So they do want to keep their elves in play. I want to keep the Weaver, the Weaver back. So I'll probably Trickster and Pierce. That's rough. So, yep. They definitely did not play into my counters. They played that well. Okay, I'm going to tap down their land. Okay. Flooding a lot, that's okay. So I probably should have tapped one of these other things. I'm just going to try to kill Nissa here. So they have to block 2 things. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, that was a mistake. That's okay. Alright, got lucky there. Nice. Alright, this will be my last one. Finally on the play. And the Sam seems fine. Got Spell Pierce, a little bit of interaction. Spell Pierce is a little bit worse in these lower ranks because players tend to basically just jam creature decks a lot more. That being said, this is mono red, so I think what I'm going to do is just get a Silvergill Adept. They have to kill it. So Trickster can eat their Lava Runner. So they have to kill it if they want to get in for damage. And it also draws me a card. So I don't imagine my chances very good, but this is a good way to end because we're going to be taking on one of the best aggro decks in the format. So I would say that Gruul is probably the best, but Mono Red is certainly close. Okay, Steamkin. Seems good. So, here's what I'm going to do. I revealed the Mistcloaked Herald, so I'm going to play that. And I'm going to play Speaker. And I'm just going to hold up Spell Pierce. Do I want to get in for damage? I think I do. Okay. So, Silvergill Adept did its job. It drew a card, which was great, but also it kept Lava Runner from attacking. Because they're like, do we really want to kill that? Now, if they Bone Crusher... so they can shock it, but that's 6 damage that went to the creatures instead of the face. I will not block. So if I draw a land, that's perfect. Is it perfect? It is not perfect because I don't have enough blue sources. So, I'm just going to do... What do I want to do? I want to Trickster and eat their Lava Runner. Let's try it. So in this matchup, this is one of the matchups where Kumena is great. We're having... Kumena's awesome, and so that's probably... Yep. Okay. Light up the stage. Remember when I used to just always lose to mono red? And probably going to lose this one. Drawing double green there is tough, but... This is like the version of mono red that I used to see around a lot. Yeah, it even has Diagonal Monkey, as people call it. Really? Jeez. That's a great draw there. So, the fact that they have that Wizard's Lightning means I'm probably not going to be able to eat their... If they Lightning here, that would be great. Wow, okay. Seems good. So, it might even be better to eat the monkey, but I think I just want to take this off the table. And they don't seem to have removal. Okay, so I take a lot of damage, down to 5. And flooding pretty badly. At the end of the day, it's okay, though. So, I'm going to use Water Trap Reaver. It is good in this situation. Keep that Steamkin tapped. And they are holding priority for some reason. Let's get in for damage. So if we draw a Lord off the top, we'll be in good shape. We have 8 of them in 48 cards. There's a 16% chance that I draw a Lord. And I assume they've got 1 land. These are cool sleeves. Stop playing. Oh, those are 2 different swords, I just noticed. What did you think they were? I don't know. Not sure what they're doing right now. But this is a good way to end what? Because that must have been their draw. They would have cast it last turn. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so they can cast. Jeez. This is definitely an older version of Mono Red with Frenzy main, which is kind of cool. So you have to be ready for Mono Red, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy playing Best of 3, because I can pack 3 or 4 Aether Gusts in the sideboard. A-E-T-H-E-R. I don't know why you did that there. But... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Darn it! So that's getting in for damage. I mean, I can just attack with everything. Well, I'm going to leave 2 back, because this will hit them for... Actually, no, that makes... So if I do this leaves me dead to any burn spell. But at this rate, I'm dead if they have anything, right? Nope, you know what? I'm going to attack like that. No, because then they can just take it. So, yeah. They have to block with their 1/1. Or they die. Not sure what the right course of action there was, but... So now they're down to 2. Frenzy makes... Okay. Well, that's good news. Oh, what? Are they slow rolling me? Oh my gosh! They bricked. That was a very satisfying way to end. Taking out Mono Red. And ranking up with Merfolk. All right, so after those games, I think there's a couple things that I could take away from it. First of all, we won all the games. So um, if you want to build a deck that is all commons and uncommons, this isn't going to be the most powerful deck, but it's competitive. The lords are really good. Trickster and Silvergale Adept, and the one drops and Spell Pierce and Unsummon are just solid cards inherently. Some problems, I would say, the lands. I think you want to get some of those dual untapped dual lands. I think that's kind of important. Um, what else? Benthic Biomancer does help with that. Also, Sneak. A lot of times I just played it and it was a 1/1 unblockable. That's nothing to sneeze at, or 2/2 unblockable. Skydiver. These are solid cards. I don't know. I think it felt fine. I would encourage people to play best of three because it allows you to tech against those linear decks like mono red. But there the deck performed very well. The lords are so powerful. I would say if you were to add other cards, I think Cumena would be a pick to add, maybe two or three. Benthic Biomancer, 2 to 4, and then go from there. Lands are probably most important. Point is, if you want a relatively cheap deck, I think Merfolk can be competitive, even without those other cards. Um, just the core uncommon base that it has is something that you can get into quickly and then build a more expensive historic deck if you want to do that. So, anyways, hopefully that's helpful to anyone who is new to historic, and maybe I'll try to make some other budget-friendly decks in the future. So, that'll be it. Bye.